What time is it? Fight!
Welcome to the MMA Podcast.
Check this out.
Get all the latest news, interviews, and stars of the MMA world. Hosted by yours, John Boy McElroy. So tune in, everyone, right here to the MMA Podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of the Martial Arts Chat podcast, and in this episode will be our end of year show, which is another MMA Roundtable. And joining me on the panel today are Gilberto Sanchez of MMA Latest, Adri Kumara of Escobar Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and Kevin Jones of the Main Event on Double T 97.3. So gentlemen, again, thank you very much for giving us your time today on the Martial Arts Chat podcast.
Happy to be here.
Good to be here.
It's great to be here.
Before we get into some of the moments from last night's UFC on Fox card, I want us all to first cast our minds back to one of the biggest events of the year, and that was UFC 194, and get your thoughts on some of the moments and fights from that card. And I'd like to start off with what was billed as a grappler versus grappler contest. It was the welterweight fight between Gunnar Nelson and Damian Maia, and what turned out really to be more of a case of teacher versus student. Adri, as the BJJ aficionado yourself, I'll start with you on this one. Did you see the fight, and what did you make of Maia's dominance?
Yeah, I did see the fight, and it was perfectly what I was expecting. And Damian Maia, all those years, even though he had some downtime in MMA, but everybody knows that he is one of the best, if not the best, grappler in the industry, and he just showed us that he is one of the best grappler, if not the best grappler in the industry. Gunnar Nelson, on the other hand, is also a very good grappler, but like you said, John, you could have said it more perfect: a teacher and a student.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And Gilberto, what about yourself? Yeah, I mean, it was really, wasn't it? It was pretty much one-way traffic, you could say, yeah?
Yeah, it was the most, I think in my opinion, the most entertaining grappling exchange that Damian Maia got into. I was actually thinking that Gunnar Nelson was going to just out-grapple him, but it was just perfect execution. Like, the limb-taking snake, Damian Maia, 38 years old, just outclassed him completely. It was really like beautiful.
Oh, absolutely. Kevin, what did you make of Nelson versus Maia, and where would you like to see, as Gilberto pointed out, the 38-year-old, where would you like to see him go from here? As a title shot or perhaps a top 5 opponent?
Well, I think he definitely made a case for a title shot. He's ranked. I'm not sure where he's ranked. I think he's a little outside of the top 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'd put him right in there. The skill set that he brings to the table, nobody else brings to the table. The guy said it exactly right. Teacher versus student, as you put it. I think Joe Rogan even said, when I hate to agree with the guy, but, he knows his stuff when it comes to jiu-jitsu. And he said, this is the difference in between, great grappling and world-class grappling. Yeah. I thought the younger man was going to have a strength advantage on him. Didn't matter when they got down there. And Damian Maia showed us why he is Damian Maia. He is one of the greatest guys. So, yeah, I totally think that, he would pose problems to anybody, because there's always that threat of once it goes to the ground, that guy's going to wrap you up and he's going to throw some submissions down. And, if he doesn't, he's going to control things when he gets to the ground. It's always a threat.
Absolutely. Who better than him, especially in the welterweight division when it comes to groundwork? Well, let's move up to the next fight that was on that card, the middleweight contenders contest, if you like. It was between Jacare and Yoel Romero. A big first round for the Soldier of God. He dropped Souza with that spinning back fist, I think it was, and then followed up with some heavy ground and pound too. He seemed to fade, though, after that, especially in the second and third rounds. And I don't know about you guys, but I had it actually for Jacare taking the last 2 rounds. But Kevin, I'll come to you first on this one. How did you score the fight, and what did you make of both fighters in this contest?
I actually scored the first and second round for Romero. I thought that Souza came out slow in the first round from the beating he took, in the second round rather, from the beating that he took in the first round.
Sure.
it's one of the things we talked about on our show that week. It's a 3-round fight, man. Every round counts tremendously on those scorecards. Yeah. And, with 5-minute rounds, totally different from boxing. Boxing's a little easier. I mean, you can break it up into 3 different segments of 1 minute. When you got the 5-minute rounds, it's a little harder for me to break it up into segments. So you got to kind of, more judge the round as a whole, which is, I guess, the way you're supposed to do it. Yeah. But he came out slow, man. I mean, the first 2 minutes in that second round, he didn't do much, and then the rest of the round was close, and that's why I had to score it for Romero. But that's why I'm a big proponent of making all these fights more rounds. I mean, like the fight we saw last night with Nate Diaz and Michael Johnson, how great would that have been if it went fantastic. A couple more rounds? Maybe Johnson could have got back into it. You never know. So, but that that's the world of MMA that we're living in with the young sport that it is. This is what it is: 3 5-minute rounds. And that was a tough one to score. I could definitely see the case for it being made to give that second round to either guy. It was close.
Yeah, definitely. And Gilberto, how about you? Was the Romero decision, was that a right call, do you think?
No, I was against it. I thought it was a unanimous decision. I also gave the first 2 rounds to Romero, and Sosa did win the last one, but I don't see how one judge argued that Sosa won the entire fight. It's a shame that Romero outgassed like that, but I didn't agree with the split decision.
And Adri, how did you score the contest, Romero versus Jacare? How did you see it?
Well, when I was watching the fights, I couldn't make up my mind either who won the fight, so I think a split decision is I was even my head was in a split decision at that time, and but I agree with Romero winning. That's the thing. The first round was it the first round that knocked down Sosa?
That's correct. Yeah, the first round.
Yeah, the first round was I think a 10-8 round for Romero. So yeah, but it was pretty close. So Romero won by split decision. I think it's a fair call.
Yeah. Moving on to the co-main event of UFC 194. Which was, of course, the middleweight title fight. And as we know, Luke Rockhold, he's now the new champion. A lot has been made of this ill-advised reverse turning kick, or wheel kick, as it's sometimes called. That's the Taekwondo guy coming out, Weidman through it. That led to Rockhold obviously scoring that takedown, and then taking a lot of ground and pound punishment, too much, in my opinion. Gilberto, I'll start with you first. 2 questions. Firstly, what did you make of the Herb Dean stoppage, or lack of stoppage, I should say? And secondly, your thoughts on the new champion, Luke Rockhold.
There was about 30 seconds of Chris Weidman getting punished on the ground. I thought Herb Dean should have stepped in to stop the fight. It was really tough just seeing Chris get pummeled like that. But on Luke Rockhold winning, I don't have anything documented. I didn't take part in any writer's prediction, but I predicted this one. Right when the referee started the fight, I was telling my friends we're gonna have a new champion, and
wow.
I was really excited to see Luke pretty much dismantle him. And it was when he kept mounting Chris Weidman, it looked like he was just oversized, too oversized. It kind of reminded me of when John Jones fought DC. Luke just looked really huge whenever he mounted Chris, and I think that kind of overwhelmed him. But yeah, it was really crazy. Another new champion.
Absolutely incredible. And Kevin, same question to you, sir. Do you think the fight should have been stopped in the third round? And who would you like to see Rockhold defend against first?
Well, I don't think the fight should have been stopped in the first round. I'm always one to give these guys the benefit of the doubt. It's probably a great thing that I'm not a referee. I like seeing definitive stoppages. I've thought that a lot of the stoppages in the last couple weeks, while I'm not going to say they were terrible stoppages, I'm not going to start jumping up and down about them. But, it was Chad Mendes and Frankie Edgar. I thought that one got stopped probably quicker than some of the other ones, even with some of the ones this week. But no, I mean, it's a championship fight, and he's the champion. He has a right to go out on his shield. Maybe in a lesser fight, I would have liked to see the stoppage. I know it was pretty brutal and the guy was getting beat on. But, the fact is he did make it out of that round. He did have some moments of success in the second round. So, no, I totally think he should have been able to fight on. a little further. And, if it wouldn't have been so brutal at the end of the first round, then I think maybe he would have even got a little more time in the second round before they stopped it. And, from where we go from here, I think it's a clear-cut decision of Yoel Romero should get the next shot. I thought he probably should have got the shot over Rockhold in the first place. But, you got to understand, as we as fans, fans need to understand that this is a business. These guys are in there to put – it's like when you're looking at a betting line. The lines, if it's 2-1, they don't think Vegas doesn't think those are the actual chances of the guy winning. They think that's the number that they can get the most money on either side and make the most money off the deal because they're making money on the juice.
Absolutely.
And it's similar to the thing with the UFC. Is they're going to put Rockhold in there. They're going to put these names in there because it's a harsh reality of the world with these guys that, as fighters. It's a business. And you got two guys that are, good English-speaking guys, the white guys. People are going to tune in for this, and they're going to make more money across the world because of this. And Yoel Romero, he speaks the broken English. He's a big, muscled-up Cuban guy. A lot more people can identify with Luke Rockhold, I think, than Yoel Romero. Although I think Yoel Romero and Rockhold is going to be a great fight, and it's got a great ring to it. But, that's the reason I think that UFC chose Sosa and Romero to have to fight, to put the guys in there. And then, the other thing is, even talking about Damian Maia, these guys are up there in age. This is their last shot at it. We got to give them their shot. UFC needs to give these older guys their shot because in 2 years they're be over, it's that much more of a chance they'll be past their prime.
Yeah, absolutely. Adri, what about yourself? Your thoughts on Herberdine letting the fight go and who gets the title shot next? As we mentioned, it could be a Weidman rematch, could be Yoel Romero. Some of the things being touted by Rockhold is it could be Vito or Belfort. Your thoughts on the lack of stoppage and who gets the title shot next?
Okay, so first of all, I'm a huge fan of Rockhold, so if I'm biased on this, I'm sorry. but I said it from the start. Rockhold got this fight. Yeah, it's a fight that is made for him to win. Whether the fight should be stopped on the third round, no. Like Kevin said, Weidman made it out of that round, and he fought until the third minute of the fourth round, and the loss came from almost his own fault of throwing the spinning stuff. And I was gonna say the Nick Diaz word, but let's keep it parental guidance here.
We're not on yet. We're not on Fox. It's fine. We can say what we want.
Yeah, so he threw the spinning kick, and it was the beginning of the end. So
yeah.
It was meant for Rockhold to win the fight. But then again, who should he fight next? I think Yoel Romero is a good choice. Whether Weidman should get a rematch or no, I don't think so. We're gonna get into this later, but I'm a huge supporter of a rematch for both Ronda Rousey and Jose Aldo. But Weidman, on the other hand, he's a new champion. When did he become champion? A little bit over 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
That's right, yeah.
And 2 years, yeah. And
yeah, I think he had Machida. I think he only had 2 defenses.
Yeah, so
that's right, yeah.
Actually he did 3 defenses. It is the rematch of Anderson Silva, Machida, and Vitor Belfort.
Yeah.
So, but let's see. I don't think the rematch should happen. But if if UFC gives the rematch, then I have no problem with it. Also, it's. He's a champion. He's 13-0 before this fight, so he kind of deserved the rematch, but it's not something I want to see.
Good point, well made. Let's move on to the main event then. On 13 seconds of it. I don't think anyone saw this coming. But Kevin, I'll start with you, sir. Your thoughts on what was McGregor versus Aldo?
I did not see it coming. I'd been picking Aldo for months in this deal. I thought his record spoke for itself. 10-0 in world title fights, 3-0 against former world champions. Conor had, I think he got into his head. And Aldo looked a little more jumpy. I think that we all got, robbed might be the wrong word. No, I was just so excited to see at least a couple rounds of these guys duking it out. We saw from just a few punches that were landed, Aldo lands one punch and there's a cut over the right eye. And then one of those hammer fists that came down, actually, he caught him on his wrist, on his tape, and split him real bad in the nose right before the stoppage. And